Greetings from Camp May. Yesterday was tennis at Western Albemarle High School. Eric and Cole have improved considerably since I last saw them, but not yet ready for prime time. Cole suggested that he might not get the tennis scholarship based on his current performance. This is an email my grandfather wrote to my mother in response to her inquiries about Camp May. This email encapsulates my grandfather's personality perfectly. He was charismatic, funny, and caring. My grandfather Art passed away on August 14, 2019, and we as a family have been recuperating slowly ever since. You always notice when a loved one dies, and this is definitely the case when you get someone as charismatic as my grandfather Art. During our trip to Italy, Austria, and Germany, my grandfather Art kept the conversations going, and there was never a dull moment. Even though it might have taken 2 hours to get from our hotel to the car, it was 2 hours well spent with my grandfather Art. They say you get grumpy and sad when you get older. This didn't seem to be the case with my grandfather Art. He was always in high hopes, even in his death. After he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, he still made the trip down to North Carolina to celebrate my brother and I's graduation. Just like how grandfather Art was charismatic, he was funny with the way he spoke and how he acted. As you saw from the from the email he wrote to my mother, he always had a sense of humor, regardless of the situation. Explaining my email further, Camp May was a week that my brother and I spent with him in Virginia over the summer. He referred to it as Camp May in reference to the various summer camps that my brother and I would take over the summer. And he often referred to himself as the counselor. Although I'm unaware of how other old people usually act, as my grandfather was my only living grandparent since I was 3, I like to think that the way my grandfather acted was more funny than the way that other grandparents acted. Another detail that I personally noticed a lot about my grandfather Art in life was how he seemed to care more about his grandson than himself. Grandfather Art often came to North Carolina from Virginia, and he came bearing gifts. He usually gave us, as kids, my brother and I, usually gave us either a toy or a stuffed animal, and as we grew up, we usually just got money, which seems to suit our age. Speaking of money, my grandfather Art always seems like he had change to spare. He was very frugal. That's the thing I noticed a lot about him. He paid for a lot of things. He usually gave us $200 every time he came to visit us, around that much. He completely paid for our Italy trip. He paid for a cruise, and he paid for a lot of our college. If you asked our grandfather Art for money, he'd probably say yes. He cared for my parents as well. Even though he was my mother's father, he treated my father with mutual respect, and I respected that. Grandfather Art may not be with us anymore, but we'll keep his legacy on and remember him for generations to come. All these memories of my grandfather are meant to be shared, so that the memory of him cannot die. I hope to be like him in my old age. I hope to care for people and hope to make people laugh like he did, and then I hope that my sons and daughters can carry that on and make people laugh and care for others like he did.